Jordan Henderson out for the remainder of the season. Mohamed Salah very much in contention for the Golden Boot. And with Leeds on the march in the Championship, the Reds preparing for Marcelo Bielsa's arrival in the Premier League. I'm Guy Clarke. Welcome to the Blood Red podcast, courtesy of the Liverpool Echo, as we get set to discuss the absence of Jordan Henderson before previewing Saturday's game with Burnley and Anfield. Alongside me, our chief LFC writer, Ian Doyle. Doyley, how are you?
You?
Yeah, not so bad, thanks. Our Liverpool correspondent, Paul Gorst. Gorsty, how are you?
Yeah, not bad, Guy. How are you? You all right?
Yeah, I am all good. Not changed my mind in the last 2 seconds. We've got a bumper edition. We've got a bumper edition. Both Caoimhe, O'Neill and Theo Squires also with us on Blood Red this Friday afternoon. Caoimhe, how are you?
Very good. Friday, always nice.
Yeah, it certainly is. The weekend very nearly here, Theo, and very nearly Liverpool back in action.
I'm not going to ask how you are because I just don't care.
Well, at least we've got the pleasantries all out of the way nice and early then. Let's get into the big news then over the last few hours. And Doyley, present in Jurgen Klopp's virtual press conference, where he confirmed, of course, Jordan Henderson will miss the final 4 Premier League games of the season.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds bad, but it's actually quite a good diagnosis, to be honest. I mean, having been at Brighton on Wednesday, the minute that Jordan Henderson, when he goes down, he tends to just bounce straight back up, and he didn't this time. So there were concerns then. Obviously, I think he just tested the injury when he had a bit of treatment, but just basically gave up and went straight off. And Jurgen Klopp was very downbeat after the game. He said it wasn't going to be just nothing, but it turns out that it is something. But to just be out for it will end up being 4 games, won't it? And if he's back for the season, that'd be great, because the next season could start as early as August the 29th. That's only, 6-7 weeks away. Even if it starts September the 12th is the other date, I think the Premier League are looking at. Still good news for Liverpool, because as has been shown, the rare occasions that he's not played this season, you think back to kind of the Watford away game and the Chelsea Cup game and games like that, where it was clear he's one of those players that, not now, but certainly for a while, you didn't really notice him as much until he wasn't there. And Liverpool I wouldn't say struggle to get to this 100-point tally over the next 4 games, but it'll certainly be made more difficult by the fact that Henderson's not going to be there. But overall, well, it's bad news for him. It's good news in the sense that he should be okay for the start of next season.
And also, I suppose, Gorsty, the good way of looking at it is Jurgen Klopp confirming that it isn't an injury that he requires surgery on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as Doyle says there, it's believe it or not, this is good news. Because could have been a lot worse by the sounds of things, and there was some kind of suggestion that he was immediately whisked away for a scan on that in a local hospital on Wednesday night. And Klopp said in his press conference that the team were kind of happy to come off the pitch with a 3-1 win and another 3 points, but once they realised that their captain was injured with quite a serious one, the mood kind of dropped, and I think Klopp called it a complete mood killer. So probably is a good thing that it's just going to be a few weeks, and okay, it's disappointing end to the season for him, for Jordan Henderson, but it won't take the shine off it in the slightest. And I thought it was good that Jurgen Klopp has kind of confirmed that plans are in place for Henderson to lift the trophy against Chelsea. What kind of form that takes, we'll yet to see. Possibly a club tracksuit rather than showing up in the full kit in John Terry style. But it's good that Henderson will be the one to lift it, because he certainly deserves it.
Yeah, and good that it probably won't be in a club suit, as you say, something more akin to the playing attire that the players will be in, but maybe not the full kit. But Caoimhe, as Doyley referred to before, Liverpool still looking to get this 100 points under their belt. And I suppose evidence even against Aston Villa that Jordan Henderson, as soon as he came on the pitch, he had a word with Naby Keita, he got the team going, that without him for these final 4 games, we might slightly see a different edge to Liverpool.
Yeah, it provides a bit of, opportunity for the other midfielders, doesn't it? But one thing that Henderson's provided, throughout his Liverpool career, but notably over the last couple of seasons, is just intensity, in terms of, he might not always be the best player on the pitch, but he'll always give 100%, and he always raises everyone else's game around him. So, I think that's the biggest thing Liverpool miss, and you've seen that over the season. Any games that he did miss, which was quite rare, but those that he did, Liverpool's tempo dropped and everything. I think he's a real leader on the pitch, and that's what you miss. But like you say, gives Naby Keita another opportunity to get in there. maybe even we'll see a little bit more of Curtis Jones and the like. So, as sad as it is to see Henderson miss out on the last 4 games, it does provide that opportunity. I think going for the 100 points record is not the biggest question for me now. It's what will Henderson wear? I'm very keen on some golden kecks. Just want to see him in some like bedazzled pants or something, tracky pants or whatever. But yeah, they'll no doubt all have champion tops on, won't they? So it shouldn't look too different. We'll still see him shuffle in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, they've got time to choreograph whatever they do. But I suppose the campaign for Golden Pants starts here on the Blood Red podcast. Theo, though, making sure he's involved. There was questions in the press conference as to if Jordan Henderson would be lifting the trophy. You can't imagine anything but, regardless of whether he's injured or not.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's not as though it's a one-off game to clinch the title. This is a 38-game season, and Jordan Henderson has been one of Liverpool's best players throughout the season. He is a contender for PFA Player of the Year, and he's just been so important for Liverpool. I can't imagine any scenario where he wouldn't lift it. I know there was talks, wasn't it, with Jurgen Klopp and James Milner about them lifting the Champions League trophy with him last year, and they both rubbished that, saying, no, you've deserved this, you do this on your own. So it's obviously going to be the same here, where he's very much played an important role. I'd imagine he's going to be in his Liverpool shirt, and he's going to be in the kit. Granted, you get the people that will take the mick, like John Terry, but it just looks better, isn't it, when they're all in the same attire. We think back to 2001, it was a nice gesture when Jamie Redknapp lifted the FA Cup in his club suit, but it looks a bit odd. When you think Liverpool waited so long for this, it's a team effort. You want them all in the same the kit, representing what they've done over the season. And Henderson is going to be right at the forefront, doing his shuffle, lifting that trophy high and enjoying the moment as long as he can stand properly, depending on his knee.
Yeah, I'm sure kit suppliers want to see them in certain kits as well, although that's a whole different can of worms. But Doyle, it was mentioned just then about Jordan Henderson, of course, has been one of the favourites for the PFA Player of the Year award. We're still none the wiser as to when that will exactly get given out. But given he misses these last 4 games of the season, weirdly, I suppose it could strengthen his hand if Liverpool do go off the boil a bit, because it just shows how important he is.
I suppose so. I mean, I don't think it'll make any difference, to be honest. I would imagine that whoever's voting, they'll have already made their minds up. I think, as has just been said, I think it's the sight of Jordan Henderson lifting that Premier League trophy that will be the one that will be more persuasive than anything he could have done over the next 4 games. Because it's sad in a way, because he had a very good game with Brighton and he scored a cracking goal. I mean, you can't overlook that. That was a fantastic strike, and that kind of summed up what he was about. As Kiva said, there have been games lately where he's come on as substitute. I think was it the Villa game? I think it was Villa, wasn't he, where he came on and suddenly Liverpool went up another level. And that's what he is to Liverpool. And his injury, it's not great timing for him in a certain sense, but you could argue it's great timing for Liverpool because these games mean absolutely nothing. And it's better for him to be available for games at the start of next season that actually mean, he can go again and he can be at the forefront of Liverpool attacking the defence of the title, as Jurgen Klopp would say.
Yeah, something we didn't get a chance to speak about on Monday, given the press conference on Tuesday ahead of the Brighton game, Gorst, was the fact that Jurgen Klopp previously had said Adam Lallana won't be featuring again for Liverpool. Wonder if that changes this at all. And obviously, Jurgen Klopp did pay a glowing tribute to Adam Lallana then.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I hadn't actually thought of that. And I can see why Klopp has said what he did about Lallana. I think there's been a bit of an agreement there in place because Lallana might be a little bit concerned about picking up an injury at a time when he's going to be a free agent and clubs are going to be interested in taking him there. So maybe he's a little bit worried about that, and Liverpool don't need to play him because they've got about 9 other midfielders and they've already won the league. But if there's going to be a 9-man bench, then you'd imagine a fully fit Adam Lallana would probably be one of your go-to men for that 9-man bench. I mean, the only other alternative I can think of is to maybe look at the youth academy and see if there's anyone else. But as Klopp said last week, he doesn't just hand out appearances, for the sake of it from the youth academy. So you would imagine that Lallana could come in now, and you're thinking maybe Fabinho is going to be a starter, Wijnaldum, and I think Naby Keita should be afforded the chance to just continue on that decent run of form that he's in at the moment. And then they've got the likes of Oxlade-Chamberlain on the bench as well, haven't they, and Milner, and it looks like Lallana could be kind of coming in for Henderson over the next few games. But I think bringing on Lallana will be an absolute last resort, given what Klopp said on Monday.
Yeah, you already.
I was going to say, I think he might just play Lallana for 1 minute right at the end of the season or something. There'll be some kind of gesture where he's on the bench and he'll just come on for like the last minute. And then knowing him, he'll probably do a Cruyff turn and then get injured. So hopefully he doesn't, to be fair. I think with Liverpool, in terms of him coming into the Lovren's back as well, so he can just bolster the numbers on the bench. So I would imagine it shouldn't be a problem for Liverpool. I would be surprised if Lallana actually plays again this season. I think there's him and there's Andy Lonergan as well, wasn't there? They were both given extended deals, I think basically just to take part in the celebrations. And I don't think Liverpool expected to win the league within, 8 days of the Project Restart, the season beginning again. So they've stuck around, and that's a little reward for them too, and a reward for Lallana, and deservedly so.
Who then in the squad is looking at this as a chance, Caoimhe, for impressing and showing what they can do in the final 4 games? Jurgen Klopp said no one needs to prove anything to him. He's seen what they're all capable of. But Oxlade-Chamberlain and you mentioned Navigator before have both had injuries through the course of the season, and now will probably be looking to have a bit of a solid run in the side to get up to speed.
Yeah, I haven't been too impressed with Oxlade-Chamberlain. I always back him to start, but he hasn't really produced. I think when he's in the wide position, it just doesn't suit him at all. He's sort of out on his own and lost. And then Mane comes on, you see what a real sort of winger does, what the difference is. So you'd like to see him maybe more centrally taking on Henderson's role, in the midfield. But one player I think who, obviously Naby Keita as well, but another player who Klopp mentioned right at the end of his press conference today was Takumi Minamino. And I think this feels like a big sort of moment for him now. If he can, he hasn't contributed to a goal yet. He's not had an assist in the Premier League. So, maybe to get on the score sheet, have a little moment where, he's going to win a Premier League winners medal, but, just have that little moment that lifts sort of Liverpool fan spirits around him and going into next season. And then, like Gorst mentioned there, obviously the young lads, he's not going to dish them out, as the appearances you see with Nico Williams, he earned that. So, I wouldn't think Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott are too far away from earning a few more minutes themselves. So, I think that the plan is there in place, and the players know what they need to do. Klopp mentioned when he mentioned Minamino that it's hard work and training. So obviously the players know if they're showing that commitment level in training, then eventually, the minutes will come. So I think he's the sort of one, because he hasn't yet proved what he's about. We saw, all the reels. We saw it in person at Anfield and obviously away in the Champions League, what he's capable of, Minamino. But now it'd be nice to see him, just really get to grips in the Liverpool shirt. I think, he seems to have settled in, and like he mentioned about Keita as well, he's settled in. So now I feel like this squad are all settled in. It's now about sort of, next season doesn't start here. We won't Man City it. But, it kind of does for them kind of players on the periphery of the squad. I think it's a really important time for them.
Yeah, I suppose one of the other players really wanting to stake a claim, and this might prompt him up the pecking order a bit, Theo, is Curtis Jones. Of course, he did score in the last game at Anfield.
Yeah, he's going to get more opportunities. He's always going to get more opportunities during these final weeks of the season, and deservedly so, because he's had a good campaign. And now Liverpool have won the title, despite what Klopp says about dishing out appearances. He knows every player in his squad deserves the opportunity. They've all contributed this year, and we are going to see more of Curtis Jones. Without saying, as Keith just said, next season starts here. It does for these players, the Klopp's thinking to who he's going to turn to and look at in the squad. That's why Adam Lallana is probably not going to play. You'd imagine Xherdan Shaqiri's drop further down the pecking order as well if he is going to move on, because you're going to be looking at, say, do you bring Curtis Jones off the bench or do you bring Shaqiri? Well, Curtis Jones is going to be here. You want to give opportunities to Minamino. But Curtis Jones, he's going to be such a vital player for this Liverpool squad going forward if he carries on the momentum he's built so far. Calm, collected on the ball. He's already a very mature, confident lad, but he's versatile as well. Liverpool don't really have too many options for cutting inside off the left flank, and he's done that so well for the 23s. So he could be that reserve for Sadio Mane if Liverpool aren't able to properly go out and spend. We've seen Origi and Minamino, Oxlade-Chamberlain obviously try that role, and they're not quite doing it, whereas we know Curtis Jones has that talent. But now with Henderson out as well, he can also show his ability in the middle of the park. He played well when he came on at the weekend. He deserved his goal. It's just shown what he's shown all season, but he's doing it in the Premier League now. He's a very confident player, and it'll be good to see him get a few more minutes under his belt and just keep on building on that momentum he's had over the course of the season so far.
Yeah, of course. Jordan Henderson then, and obviously what happened with Liverpool's midfield, a big talking point from today's press conference, but also brought up was what happened the last time Liverpool played Burnley at Turf Moor back in August, I believe it was, or certainly September, but I'm pretty sure it was back in August, Doyle. And it was spoken about that tiff between Sadio Mane and Mohamed Salah, and Mohamed Salah, of course, still on for getting the Golden Boot. Sadio Mane isn't too far off it himself, but thought it was interesting what Jurgen Klopp had to say about his management of strikers throughout his career, that he's never told one off for being selfish, because that's what strikers need to be.
I think he actually said he's had in 20 years, he's spoken twice with strikers about being selfish. But this Mane Salah thing, who cares? To be perfectly honest, I mean, how often have you had an argument with somebody you work with? I wouldn't say all the time, but it's definitely happened. You know what I mean? I've heard Theo, Theo and Gorst going at each other. But no. In terms of a striker, I know that the question came from the fact that there was an incident. He didn't actually mention it. The person, I've forgotten now who asked the question, but there was an incident in the second half where Salah was in down the left and he could have passed it across to Mane to score. But Salah, he'd got one goal at that point. He was looking for a few more, obviously thinking of the Golden Boot. Held off I think it was Lamptey, the Brighton defender, and got a shot away, which I think was saved, so it went for a corner. But around just kind of looked away. He's probably thinking I could have had a pass in, because he's obviously he wants a few more goals. That's what forwards want. They all want to score, but they've all long since realised why Liverpool top of the league, why are they 23 points clear, why are they champions of the world, Europe and England? Because they're a team. And they all get the rewards if they know that they all get the rewards if they do the job that has been asked of them. And, Jurgen Klopp may have said that, I think at the time, back in August, September, he'd had a very quick word with the pair of them and that was it. And we've seen loads of times since then that, did they set goals up for each other? There's no problem there. But do they want to score goals? Of course they do. Do they probably have a little, I wouldn't say competition between themselves, but do they want to score more than the other one? Well, of course they do. And that's good for Liverpool, because then that means that they're going to end up scoring more goals. So I don't see it being a problem. Is Salah a bit greedy? Was he a bit greedy towards the end? Yeah, but he wanted another goal. Liverpool winning 3-1. Well, it'd be more weird if you had a striker who just gets the ball, just looking to pass it all the time. And I'm not going to name any names, but we can think of a few strikers in the Premier League who are like that. And people are saying, well, why aren't they scoring? So you'd rather be somebody who is accused of being selfish and scores a load of goals than somebody who's accused of being not selfish and doesn't score any.
Well, one person who was mentioned in that, I suppose, selfless bracket in the press conference, and he does constantly, Gorst, is Roberto Firmino, and whether he was looking to pass to Mohamed Salah to help him with this aim for winning the Golden Boot. But what do you make of the notion that players, whilst they're out on the pitch and in the penalty box, are trying to look around for who to pass it to? It's not a game of six-a-side, is it? They need to score goals to win games.
Yeah, I must admit, when that question came, I couldn't actually remember the incident that they were referring to. And I suppose it's just a natural feature of Firmino's game. He's not the main goal getter in his Liverpool team, is he? He hasn't even scored at Anfield this season, would you believe? Which kind of shows how important he is when he can go an entire season without scoring at home and Liverpool still walk the Premier League title. Salah on Wednesday night had a total of 8 shots, which is a season highest for him. 5 of them were on target. Around half of them came actually in the last few minutes. So he just does seem desperate to kind of get closer and closer to Jamie Vardy, as you would expect him to. He's going for the 3rd successive Golden Boot. Only Alan Shearer and Thierry Henry have ever done that in the Premier League era. So he's already made plenty of Premier League history himself at Liverpool. He's looking to kind of add to that, which is fair enough. I mean, he's Liverpool's main goal threat, so why would he not be the most goal hungry? I've got no issue with it at all. And I'm with Doyle a little bit. That Burnley incident was brought up, pretty much just because it was Burnley who were playing when it happened. It's a bit of a storm in a teacup and a nothing incident, and it was long forgotten about. So Salah and Mane will continue to set each other up. They will continue to score goals, and long may that continue.
Yeah, looking at Mohamed Salah's figures, Caoimhe, I think it's 104 Premier League games for Liverpool, 100 goal involvements. If you break that down, it's 73 goals and 27 assists. And now he's on the verge of getting 20 for a 3rd season in a row. Liverpool have been dying out for a striker like this for years and years in a side as successful as this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of unreal, isn't it? I don't think any of this will sort of sink in until years later and we look back at the sort of record books and go, oh my God, that was completely unprecedented and ridiculous. Liverpool have had so many great forwards in the past, and for Salah to be doing what he's doing is just ridiculous. And no one expected him to come to Liverpool and have this effect. It's completely, like Klopp mentioned in both of the past press conferences about Sadio Mane and Mohamed Salah, that them players are all over the pitch. You've just, inspired what Liverpool, the success that they're enjoying now. But I mean, Salah's gone from, they've all had the journeys, but from where he went to sort of the Chelsea reject to now, world, just unbelievable. He's just the talisman, isn't he? And the amount of sponsorship deals and things like that he's literally a superstar. Millions and millions of followers to boot on social media. I think it's hard to sort of to talk about his goals and what he's brought to Liverpool, because it's such a massive thing. You wouldn't have thought, obviously Firmino, Mane, and then Salah obviously finished that sort of that front three, and to watch him every week and the way he plays and the goals he scored. And, it was funny when you look back and rival fans were hoping, weren't they, he's gone there. And then he wasn't. And then he wasn't again. And, you can see he's 28. He's going to be at Liverpool hopefully the next few years if he can, keep hold of him. And, you definitely think he can become one of Liverpool's greatest ever goal scorers, with the ratio of games to goals is just unrelenting. You think, I saw a stat the other day about Luis Suarez. Obviously losing him, Liverpool were just completely distraught in that, and now they've got 3 of these fellas who are just scoring for fun. I think Suarez is now the 3rd all-time goal scorer for Barcelona with 195 goals. So Liverpool lost out on 195 goals, but I think they gain now 250 between them 3. So, I think we got the better end of the deal almost, didn't we?
Yeah, it certainly does seem that way. Definitely when you put it like that, Keeper. And I suppose, as Keeper said there, Theo, Mohamed Salah now 28. He's had 3 seasons at Liverpool. You'd bet that he'd have at least probably 3 more at this level. And it's about enjoying him before he's gone, because you don't know, obviously, when it all could come to an end.
Yeah, with Mohamed Salah, I think it's Liverpool's rise has almost turned the tails on it. You're not waiting for him to make that next big move because he's achieved the biggest prizes at Liverpool. It'll be a case of, I think, when Liverpool make that decision that he's maybe past his best, or it's time to move him on because they've got better players coming through, or because they've received a good offer for him. He is a very talented finisher. We've said that time and time again, and his numbers speak for themselves. And he is going to contribute, isn't he, for the next 2-3 years, you'd imagine, unless there is this massive offer on the table. But then in this current market, what sort of side can put in a massive offer that is going to tempt Liverpool to sell Mohamed Salah? Maybe he'll fancy a change one day. We've seen Cristiano Ronaldo quit Real Madrid to go to Juventus because he fancied something a bit different. Mohamed Salah, he's done it in Italy, he's now done it in England, so maybe he'll fancy the same. But it's a while off, yeah. Like this Liverpool team is still at the peak of their powers. They've still got plenty more trophies they can win. So why would you walk away from that? They're in the Champions League, the Premier League champions, European champions, world champions. There's going to be more of this success, and you might as well be part of it. Why do you want to win 1 trophy of each if you know you can win 2 or 3? He's a hungry footballer for success. He's not going to rest on his laurels. He's going to want more. The only concern I've got is what it means for the rest of the team, because I can understand why Sadio Mane is a bit miffed, because he won the Golden Boot last year as well. They were both going for it this year, and it's almost, when the title's won, Liverpool have focused on Mohamed Salah. He's probably going to get benched now, isn't he, at the weekend? But he's not the one who's dropped out the starting 11. It's been Firmino, it's been Mane. Then he's the one they're going for the goals. He's the one who stays on for the 90 minutes because he's the match winner and he's more consistent with the finishing. But if you're Sadio Mane and you've won the Golden Boot as well, and you can see Liverpool focusing more on Salah, when you've still got this story from earlier in the season about the tiff as well at Burnley, you can understand why his nose might be a bit out of joint, because he's proven time and time again as well. He's got this talent, and he's someone who, if Real Madrid or Barcelona can't tempt Salah one day, they're definitely going to be asking about Sadio Mane. So for both of them, Liverpool fans have just got to enjoy them for as long as they can. And you'd imagine if they keep up this level of success, it is going to be another 2-3 seasons at least.
Yeah, certainly. We'll get on to Burnley very shortly indeed. But, Gorsty, just want to come to you first, just on one line that's come out today regarding Liverpool. Mentioned at the top Leeds United and Marcelo Bielsa. And the reason I did was because there has been a minor update on Liverpool's training ground. With them, obviously, progress was halted with that through the pandemic, but now got planning permission in for a fence to stop any spies.
Yeah, applied for planning permission with Knowsley Council to basically install a mesh fence to go around their training pitches that are currently being, constructed at Kirkby, the new £50 million training base that was actually meant to be opened this month in time for pre-season, and obviously the pandemic has put a little halt on that, and construction started resumed in mid-May. So I was told today that a decision on when Liverpool are going to actually move into the base will be taken at the end of the season. Hopefully, it's not going to be too far away for completion, and the club are confident that this new mesh fence and the planning permission that goes with it won't have any kind of delay impacts on the completion of the site. So it's done with two things in mind, almost to keep prying eyes away from the work that's being done on the training pitch. And I know that was something that Brendan Rodgers was always kind of constantly moaning about during his time at Melwood, that people could basically peer over the fence and see what Liverpool were doing, and there was always this thing of a Melwood mole, and Rodgers went a long way towards kind of resolving that, and it's basically a similar thing. So that is part of it, and another one is part of it is thinking that it will kind of protect Liverpool from the elements as well. So if it's a particularly windy day, this mesh fence will absorb plenty of that wind and basically enable play a little bit more as you would on a match day where there is a stadium blocking off the wind. So as I say, the club are hopeful that will be in place, and it won't have any impact at all on when this new £50 million base that Liverpool hope will rival any other in Europe will be able to open.
Yeah, we'll of course keep you updated on that across on the Echo website. But let's have a chat about Burnley then, ahead of their arrival at Anfield, Doyle. And well, Jurgen Klopp spoke about them, of course, in the pre-match press conference. But as well, I suppose a friendship you might not first link. Sean Dyche and Jurgen Klopp having a few Zoom calls during lockdown.
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise, to be honest. I'd love to have listened to them, to be honest. I'd just like to have listened to how they spoke, because you know what Sean Dyche is like. I mean, he's always moaning, Sean Dyche, that kind of thing. So he's always moaning at the fourth official as well. But I think they're actually a lot more similar than people think, and I think that's probably why they get on. They're both very, emotive and expressive on the touchline. And I think there's certainly from Klopp, I'd imagine it's the other way as well, actually. There's a healthy respect there for what they're doing at their respective clubs, because look at Burnley. Where are they now? The 8th or something? 7th or 8th. They're fairly high up, aren't they? And they're one team that's, I know they got absolutely smashed at Man City, but let's be honest, who hasn't been since the season's restarted. They've kind of, given the fact that they've had a few of the, Chris Wood's missing, Ashley Barnes been missing as well, hasn't he? I know Wood's back now, isn't he? So they've done really well. And with the, Jeff Hendrick's gone, hasn't he? He's not signed his contract. I think there's a few more where that's happened. So they've embraced it. And they're probably thinking, we're really pleased that this new season's starting pretty soon, because they'll have got a fair bit of momentum. Like there's one or two other clubs thinking exactly the same thing. Liverpool will not find it easy against Burnley, especially if the weather's anything like it is now, where it's very windy, because there's no mesh net up around Anfield, and we know it was absolutely freezing against Aston Villa last weekend, and it was very windy there. So it'll be a tough one, but apart from one or two of their fans, shall we say, Burnley, decent club.
Yeah, we best leave a few of their fans to one side. But as Doyle mentioned there, Caoimhe, they are only 3 points off 6th place, and Sean Dyche does continue to do a good job with Burnley, and you know what to expect when they do come to Anfield. I think it was last season, was it? It feels like it was a lot longer than that ago. They scored from a corner that many disputed whether it should actually have been given.
Yeah, I always quite admire Burnley just under Sean Dyche, just because they're so boisterously just adamant that they'll play that sort of defensive way and sort of try and break as much as they can. And they are a tough team to break down. Obviously, Liverpool have enjoyed success in the past when they eventually overcome the sort of blockade that they put up at Turf Moor and of course at Anfield. I always think they're a good away team, but I think one of the things that will be on display at the game will obviously be the battle of the clean sheets, won't it? Because Alisson's chasing for the Golden Glove, and then you've got Nick Pope who's ahead of him on 14. Alisson's got 13. I think it'll be very much both goalkeepers will be knowing, because if Burnley can keep a clean sheet, and if not, they'll be looking to get into Europe as well. But Nick Pope will be thinking if I keep a clean sheet here, I'm pretty much on for the Golden Glove, because then it keeps Alisson at 13 alongside, I think, Ederson. So obviously he's got competition there. But, to go 2 ahead of Alisson, who, as we have to say, missed a lot of games this season, is completely remarkable. We know what a good goalkeeper Nick Pope is, and I think he'll show that again against Liverpool. So I think that's sort of one to look out for, isn't it? And now, they defend. And it'd be nice to see Liverpool have that sort of like Crystal Palace game now. After the derby, that was a bit dull. And then they sort of, they got the party started, didn't they, against Palace. And then I don't think they've really massively, they've been good goals, but they haven't massively, dominated games and been the impressive Liverpool side we've seen. So I'd like them to try and do that. But then Burnley have got so much to fight for. So it's not going to be easy, even though the party has started for Liverpool. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, Gorsty, how impressive is it actually, that clean sheet record that Alisson's presiding over this season? I think it's 12 in the Premier League. He's only played 25 games, but when you think about it, his first clean sheet this season in the Premier League came away at Bournemouth on the 7th of December.
Yeah, it's a very, very strange contrast, isn't it? The fact that he's so high up there in terms of the clean sheets, and he's missed so many games. Didn't keep a clean sheet until December, as you say. But I think once December came, that was where the title was won for Liverpool. I think a lot of people expected Liverpool to fall away because they had League Cup commitments and obviously the Club World Cup in Qatar, Champions League in Salzburg, and about 15 Premier League games as well. They seemed to be playing every other day back in December, and Liverpool just went and won every single game, apart from obviously the Villa one when it was the youngest Liverpool team in history. It was almost an under-18 side, if you like. So it's a really strange record that Alisson's got, and I think it just shows how good he's been and how good Liverpool have been defensively, haven't he? Because Manchester City have got the greatest goal difference, but Liverpool have once again got the best defence in the Premier League, and I think I know it's certainly the second season when it might even be the third. So yeah, I mean, you don't win anything without the top defence, do you? And Liverpool's is obviously built on the relationship between Gomez and Van Dijk at centre-back, and obviously they've got 2 top-class full-backs either side, and Alisson, who for me is the world's best goalkeeper. So when you've got those 5 and you're trying to break them down, it's tough, isn't it? So that'll be why they are so high, and why Alisson hopefully will once again finish with the Golden Glove.
Yeah, and that defence will have to be on top, probably. Theo against Burnley, who will put plenty of physical tests up against Liverpool, and any balls in behind Virgil van Dijk that he might have to flick over the forwards with his head and get onto them.
That was great, wasn't it? That's just one about Virgil van Dijk. This is a proper player. This is how good he is. To have the sense to read that and form it, the confidence, it's amazing. But Burnley, they're usually one of the teams that you'd have feared Liverpool facing before Virgil van Dijk arrived at the club. I remember, was it going to Turf Moor a few years ago and losing 2-0 right at the start of the season? It was a place Liverpool hated to go, but it was a team that they could get bullied by. Burnley aren't afraid of playing against the big teams, and with Chris Wood and Ashley Barnes, they've got these 2 physical presences up front. But now you just don't have those concerns anymore because Liverpool have got Virgil van Dijk. He's just so composed. He's so cool. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's not afraid of any challenges or anything. And he's the best centre-back in the world. As we've already said, we've got the best goalkeeper in the world, probably got the best right-back in the world, probably got the best left-back in the world. And Joe Gomez, he's right up there as well. But yeah, I'm guessing Kiva's not predicting a 0-0 then. If Nick Pope's going to pull away from Alisson. It's a hard one on that with what you expect to happen, really. Because if Liverpool were at the races, I'd expect it to be another comfortable win. Because I saw the City-Burnley game. And Burnley, not really at it against those teams if you're on the ball, just because they know they're not really going to challenge for Europe, despite the fact they're right in the mix there. They were burnt, was it last season, when they lost a few players to injury, dropped off a bit from those commitments. They're just seeing the season out, doing as well as they can with the talented players there, maybe trying to get big moves or something. but it's going to be another comfortable Liverpool win, I'd imagine, if they can start well, as we've seen last weekend.
Love the fact that in this podcast, Theo's just completely dismissed Burnley and he's tried to set up a fight between Mane and Salah so far.
I also like how our preview of what Burnley might offer consisted of talking about how good Alisson is and Virgil van Dijk's header. But anyway, we best get into then our team selections and match predictions before we go. And Doyley, I'll start with you. But who's between the stick and your back five?
Alisson, possibly between the sticks. I think the back four is going to be the back four. Robertson came on. Obviously, Nico Williams had a tough time at left back, it was a bit harsh playing him there, to be honest. But it was a good learning experience for him because I don't think I've ever seen him play left back at any of the under 23 level or under 18s or anything like that. So Robertson back, left back. Trent can stay right back. I don't think this is a game for Nico Williams to be playing there, and then the normal two centre back.
Anybody wanting to question that at all?
I've got a little inkling that Klopp mentioned Lovren's available because he might just throw him in. Gomez hasn't looked on it, has he, completely? Maybe he could do with a little bit of a rest. And if Lovren is, you wouldn't mention that Lovren was available. I don't think necessarily you'd need to, because it would just come as a minor shock, wouldn't it, at the weekend? So I've got a little inkling that he might start. Not that I would like to see that, but I would like to see Gomez get back to his sort of best. And I don't know whether continuing to play him does that, or resting him for a game does that.
I think, to be fair, Klopp did get asked about Lovren. He didn't just offer it. He did get asked. Yeah.
YouTube wasn't working, was it? Couldn't hear the question.
It was making assumption.
The only other thing you could do is maybe put Nico at right back and have Trent, the tried and trusted, the first choice back four.
Yeah, so going with the usual suspects then across the back four. Gorsty, who's going to be in your midfield three? Obviously, no Jordan Henderson. No,
I'd keep Cater in there. I thought he had a good game the other night, so a chance for him to kind of carry on building that momentum. And I think he's in there at the expense of Curtis Jones, who I was tempted to throw in, but I'm going to keep my powder right there, and probably Fabinho and Wijnaldum.
You mentioned Minamino earlier, Kiva. You thinking of putting him in the midfield three at all?
Possibly, but then you sort of think through it and think Fabinho's just been world class. I think he's been one of Liverpool's best players since the return. And then you're not leaving Cater out just because he's really coming into his own and you don't want to mess with that. I've still got a little inkling towards Oxlade-Chamberlain. I think Klopp is trying to figure him out still. I know he's a versatile player that he'd like to play in, maybe on the wing and centrally, and he can play in those spaces. But I think maybe just give him a go in sort of Henderson's spot and just see how he gets on.
And Theo, who's your three in the midfield?
Naby Keita keeps his place just because he's in form. It's a hard one as well. It's because do you really need to play Fabinho against Burnley? You could have that control over it. So we might see Gini Wijnaldum in that deeper role. But I'd probably go along with what Gorsty's done with Fabinho, Wijnaldum and Oxlade-Chamberlain dropping out. I know he started the last couple, but he's not looked quite at it. So rest him out and go for the players who are looking a bit more on form, and then see if you can have a lively impact off the bench.
Doyley, does it work with Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain in the same midfield together?
Not for me, no. I think over time they'll both be playing for the same position. That kind of attacking spearhead in the midfield. That's where I think Keita's in possession at the moment, rightly so too. He's been played very well. He's Liverpool's most improved player since they came back. I think it was interesting he went off after an hour. I think that just says to me he's playing against Burnley because he was playing so well. There was no reason to substitute him, especially when at the time it was just still 2-1 to Liverpool. So it was still in the balance somewhat. I think Keita will play midfield. I think Fabinho's got to play. I think James Milner will play as well in there. I think it's interesting. I remember Liverpool won 3-1 at Burnley 2 seasons ago, and Keita was in a midfield 2 in a 4-4-2, and it was one of his best games he ever played for Liverpool. They couldn't knock him off the ball. He got stuck in. It was a midweek. It was December. It was it's Burnley, so you knew what to expect. And I think that kind of convinced me that game that he could make it in the Premier League. Unfortunately, he's had the injury since then, but I think Keita plays.
Yeah, it was the night. Of course, Joe Gomez got injured as well, wasn't it? Well, anyway, let's get into the forward threes then, Gorsty. We spoke about Mane and Salah before. Are we going with the usual suspects at the top end of the pitch as well?
I think I might try Minamino instead of Firmino. Obviously, he's not going to go right up against the likes of Ben Mee and whoever else because they're all strong and burly, and Minamino is a little bit flighty, isn't he? A little bit not the most lightweight, shall we say? But I think this could be a decent chance for him to get on the ball a little bit and show what he's about. So I'm going to go with Minamino over Firmino.
Theo, who's in your front three?
Well, I can't see Salah getting dropped whilst he's going for the Golden Boot. And you look at the next games after this, where it's Arsenal and Chelsea, you'd imagine it's going to be the first choice front three for them. So it's the perfect opportunity to get Minamino some game time. You're not going to want to start him against those tougher ones when he's still finding his feet. So I'll probably go along with Gorsty, and it's a game where you could have him started ahead of Firmino. Doesn't look as comfortable out wide, and then you can have Mane back in his favoured position, seeing if he can catch up to the leading goal scorers as well.
Yeah, not sure that Arsenal backline's the toughest of all. But anyway, Kiva, what do you make of the forward three for the Burnley game?
Yeah, I'm definitely convinced Minamino for Firmino is a straight swap, isn't it? He is a bit more slight, as Gorsty's mentioned there, so he might get a little bit. You wouldn't think bullied by the boisterousness of Burnley, but I think he's probably got a little bit of room to manoeuvre there and maybe try and start to impress. And then I think, like Theo mentioned, you can't leave Salah out because he's obviously going for the Golden Boot. He's in form, but then you can't leave Mane out because you just feel like you can't leave him out because then how does he start to think then? Oh, they're letting Salah go for the Golden Boot, not me. But there's a little inkling in the back of my mind that I just kind of want to see Origi again because this feels like the game where you could play him and be the opportunity. So maybe in for Mane because he just hasn't done anything, has he, since the return? And it's kind of like you're almost questioning his future a little bit, which is like a scary thought because he's a god. So... I
was going to say that statue status beginning to crumble away for him.
I know, that's what I mean. So if he could just even come on at the end, so start Mane and then bring him off after like 60 minutes and get Origi a goal, just so we all relax again and worship him.
Yeah, certainly. Doyle, then your forward three. We'll leave Kiva to worship Divock Origi.
Yeah, I will not be worshipping any footballer ever. Just thought I'd say that. Unless they stop regulating the mix zone when they resume, then they'll get a nod of appreciation from me when they finally put hand the boots up. Salah he was obviously didn't play against Everton, and since then Firmino and Mane have been rested. So I think Salah's the only one who could possibly get rested because I think Firmino definitely plays for me in this one because I don't think Burnley know what to do with him. If I'm being honest, the Burnley defence will just be stood around going, what are we supposed to do with this? And I think he kind of performed well at Burnley when they won 3-0 back in August. I think Mane's got to start. So it's Salah or Minamino. I think Salah starts, to be honest. Maybe Minamino gets half an hour towards the end. Jurgen Klopp's been doing that. And I almost think for Minamino, probably Arsenal away is a good game for him to play because he can just get in and amongst Arsenal's not very good defence, as Guy knows all about. Even though Arsenal have started to, keep a few clean sheets. Well done.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that the better. But yeah, we best then get to the match predictions. We forgot to do them on Monday. I was going to say 3-1 against Brighton, but anyway.
Yeah, the answer I was going to say.
Yeah. Doyle, we'll start with you.
3-1. Oh, there you go. I'll go with 3-1. 3-1 to Liverpool. There you go.
Gorsty?
2-0.
Kiva?
2-1.
Theo?
2-0.
And I think it'd be 4-0 to Liverpool, but we'll have to wait and see how everything does play out. Of course, we'll be back on Monday with the next Blood Red podcast here on the Blood Red channel. Thank you for joining us. If you can like, rate, review, subscribe, share, wherever it is you get your audio on demand, or if you are here on the YouTube channel as well. But from myself, Guy Clarke, Ian Doyle, Paul Gorst, Kiva O'Neill and Theo Squires, thanks for your time and company. Bye for now.